Hi, I'm Marcy, and I've just finished my third sketchbook, and I'd like to give a tour. This sketchbook took me about 3 minutes to fill up, and I had some stickers. This one was based on my first sketchbook, my second sketchbook, and this, my third sketchbook. And this was part of Sketchbook Revival, a really fun thing I did to finish off my last sketchbook in the beginning of this one. I did some figure studies, a couple of Domestika classes, and 2 other community events, Find Your Flow and Kaleidoscope Taster Week. So I had a lot going on during these 3 months. This was part of Sketchbook Revival. Really fun lessons by creative instructors, and I followed along with a lot of those lessons. And this was to make a collage the street, which was the end of my last sketchbook, and it did not come out at all, so I gave it another shot, and I did like how this one came out better. I still had some fabric clothes on the clothesline and a little person, so that was pretty fun. And some more Sketchbook Revival. This was based on finding patterns and colors based on a photo, and I ended up using the same photo a little bit later for an illustration, so I'll show you that when we get to it. And some flowers, some Zentangle. And then I started doing some figure studies. I would like to get better at that. This was going to Treehouse, a brewery, and we sat outside in front of the fire for a little bit. It was very cold. We ended up going inside. And I started a Domestika class with a self-portrait, and I really like how this pencil came out. It looks like it could be picked up. Blind contour drawing, I still don't really get, but I gave it a try. I don't like how this came out. I was trying to kind of save my bad illustrations, but it just got worse and worse. And then I love this. This was an assignment in a class to use different camera shots, close-up, medium shot, and a distance shot from a movie, High Noon, and I used India ink. For the first time I tried shading with India ink. This is the sticker I made based on that one. One of the stills from High Noon. I really like how the different shades of gray came out in that one and in this one. I thought those were pretty fun. So I like this, and then I couldn't resist giving some color, so I added the blue background in. And this was drawing some ingredients and the finished dish of a recipe I really like, beef and bok choy bowl. I went to the Wadsworth Athenaeum again and tried to sketch this portrait by Kehinde Wiley. I really like him. He did President Obama's portrait, is when I first heard of him, and I didn't know he had a portrait right at my local museum, the Wadsworth. This was part of my birthday celebration. I got to do whatever I want that day, so we went to the Wadsworth, we had cocktails, we got takeout from this really great chicken place, El Pollo Guapo. I tried to sketch an illustration of Grafton Street. I hated how it came out, but I tried it again later on and it came out better. And some more figure studies. I liked this one. In Morocco, we had visited this UNESCO World Heritage Site, very cool, and I combined it with an illustration of a man from a different part of Morocco. I'm just playing around with some more figure studies and some recycled book pages. I got some brushes for India ink, and that was pretty fun to play around with, and these were just some bushes in my front yard. Playing with the India ink again. I really like it, but I couldn't really get anything going with an illustration for it. Halong Bay in Vietnam was so gorgeous, and I did Tai Chi in the early morning on the deck. Really gorgeous experience. And we slept in the Sahara when we went to Morocco. Very, very hot. We slept outside on the carpets. Just so iconic to be in the desert, and I had riding camels and everything. It was very fun. This was an awesome experience in Montreal to go up and see the organist playing at the Notre Dame Basilica. It's called the Take a Seat at the Organ Experience. Highly recommended. It was intense being right up there with the pipe organ. Bushnell Park. All of these illustrations were part of a 30-day challenge in Find Your Flow. So this was kind of trying to do a graphic novel interpretation of searching for egg coffee in Hanoi. We went through all these slightly creepy looking alleys and we found it. It was a very nice place. Hot coffee in 100 degrees, yes. And this was on Lake Titicaca in Peru. Very awesome place to visit. And we saw this ceremony where these women gathered sticks and hay and danced around this massive bonfire in the village center. And then this is the photo I mentioned earlier that inspired the color palette and the patterns. One of my other most favorite travel experiences was hiking around this butte in Arizona in Monument Valley. And this was really fun too. I went to have dim sum in Chinatown in New York at this very historic tea parlor. And while I was setting up my photo to take the shot, this woman danced in front of my frame. I think they were filming a commercial or something, but it was very serendipitous. And some more figure study. And this was based on an elephant ride that my kids and I and my husband took in Thailand. And at one point, the elephant that my kids were riding just kind of took off without the driver. They were fine. The elephants know what they're doing. But I ended up writing a little poem about it. And this was another crack at the Angel of Grafton Street. She was a living statue that came to life as my children gave her a tip. And it was just a very beautiful day in Dublin. This is where we have these awesome pan roasts in New York City at the Grand Central Oyster Bar, I think it's called. This is on Mykonos. This penguin was the star of the show. He had all the tourists eating out of the palm of his hand, but a very fun beachside scene in Mykonos. The full Irish breakfast did not last long. Very delicious, but it's a meal that's worth the whole day if you eat all that. I got to see cranberries being harvested in Massachusetts in a cranberry bog. That was very fun. I loved the colors. I mainly went because I wanted to learn about it, but also to take some photos of these beautiful red fruits. This was Slot Canyon I visited in Arizona, Antelope Canyon, and I tried it in gouache, didn't like how it came out, and then tried it again in watercolor and really loved it. I tried it in watercolor and tried it again in colored pencil. I thought that came out pretty nice. Love Bryce Canyon, my very favorite place of all the national parks. The colors, the hoodoos are just amazing. And I like how the colors came out in the watercolor. And this was in Cambodia. It was a wet street, and I just loved the photo with the colors reflected in the wetness of the rain of these tuk-tuks. And we hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu in Peru, and our guide Percy played the flute in this gorgeous setting. Just such a memorable experience. And this is the ruins at Machu Picchu. And then this was getting cocktails in San Francisco. My husband and I went out and visited our son when he was out there for an internship. Very, very fun place to have cocktails. And then this was finishing up my 30th day of Find Your Flow. I didn't do a finished illustration every single day, but this is what I ended up creating. Sometimes I created like kind of half the illustration in the day. That was very fun. I liked it, and a really nice community grew up as a part of that. I like this guy. She looks silly, but I kind of like her. And then I followed along with a YouTube tutorial using negative space. It's all right. I tried it again with the shape I designed. And by now I was determined to do 100 figure studies, so I did do that in this sketchbook. These were so much fun. I love making dolls. I've done that in crafting a few times, and now I did it in paper, and I designed each of their little outfits. It was fun. I didn't originally picture the disco when I made this farm girl outfit, but once I made her outfit, I wanted the disco, so. And then I followed along to make this kitten and a YouTube video. I tried making Jack White with the same technique in gouache, and I like how the kitten came out. This one did not come out at all, but I gave it my try. I tagged him on Instagram, but he hasn't replied. This was based on my husband playing some tennis shots I made a composite photo in Photoshop, so I used those same tennis things to show various shots and some more figure studies. And then this was part of a Domestika course, some continuous line drawings. I like how the continuous line drawings came out, but I could not really get the hang of the teacher's portrait technique, which used tea and calligraphy ink, which isn't permanent and you can like reactivate it. I just couldn't really get the hang of it, but I liked the instructor. More of that kind of thing, trying to reactivate the calligraphy ink. I couldn't really do it. I like this one because it's Let It Be, but other than that, it didn't really work out. This one's okay, Michelle Obama, but then this one was my final project, and I used gold leaf for the first time. Actually, I experimented here for the first time on this part of David Bowie being Aladdin Sane. I could not pull this portrait off, so you know, it was interesting though. I used tea and reactivated the calligraphy ink and made these things he calls glass shards. Did not work out though. That's all right. And these were some flowers my husband thought it would be fun for me to paint. it's okay. This was trying along for a draw this in your challenge. I hated this one, but tried it again. And I did kind of like this one. I feel like I did kind of pull off getting this part underwater a bit, so I thought that was pretty fun. And then this was the beginning of Kaleidoscope Taster Week, and I really enjoyed those classes too. More of Kaleidoscope. This is one of my favorites. I love how I did the colors and the hair going all around, and it was inspired by a Klimt painting. I struggle with gouache a lot to try to make anything realistic looking, but I like that one. Tree Frog. This one I do like how it came out. It was monochromatic. It was inspired by a movie scene that I haven't seen the movie, but a woman floating in the ocean and all the stars being reflected. And this was Kaleidoscope Taster, as well as this. And then this, I wanted to make waterfall cards, so I had the idea of the runes from Led Zeppelin 4. And then I was just gonna make this and glue it in, but then I decided to go for this illustration. I like it. So it's Robert Plant is singing, Jimmy Page, John Bonham, John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin, and here's the waterfall cards, which were fun. It was hard for me to get them to work, but I finally did. And then I was determined, this is finishing up my 100 figure studies. I followed along on YouTube with gesture drawing, and I'm pretty happy with these basketball players. So I think I did improve in my figure drawing. And this was supposed to be a collage. I could not get it to work. And some odds and ends, and that finishes up my 3rd ever sketchbook. So very happy with that and excited at all the new things that I tried. Thanks for checking it out.